Notre Dame, Penn State, Orange Bowl. Notre Dame is a 1.5-point favorite. Over under 46.5 in this spot. Notre Dame gets their big win over Georgia. Double-digit win. Riley Leonard didn't have to do too much. A great performance by the defense by Notre Dame. Penn State is just on cruise control in this thing right now after playing SMU, Boise State. Now they're finally going to have to play that top-tier competition. They're not playing the Boise States and SMUs of the world. Dylan, what are your thoughts going into this game?
Can we argue that Notre Dame is also coming into this game on cruise control? Georgia without their starting quarterback.
Then you can't say the
Indiana.
Big Ten's that great if you're saying Indiana's on the same tier as SMU, Boise. Right?
Well, we could always look at the teams that are remaining as well and how we're, in my opinion, likely going to have an all Big Ten national championship. Here's what I want to say about this game. I think you're right. The Penn State they've been able to put it on cruise control and just take care of their business along the way, playing Boise, SMU. Notre Dame, conversely, you get a Georgia team that doesn't have Carson Beck. We could sit here and argue whether that's a positive or a negative, but I want to look specifically at Notre Dame's game last week against Georgia. You have Notre Dame forced a red zone fumble on Georgia, forced another fumble that put Notre Dame in the red zone. They scored a touchdown off of that for 13 yards, and then you had a kickoff return for a touchdown. All high leverage plays. We can sit here and argue. We know the defense is good. We can argue is the fact that they're forcing these turnovers and the fact that they're scoring these kickoff returns a testament to their special teams, a testament to their defense. You guys know me. We've done this show for long enough. You guys know where I'm going with this. I'm not going to put as much stock in that as Penn State's efficiency we've seen the last two games. Notre Dame, they've been great, but Riley Leonard threw for 90 yards exactly against Georgia. They weren't exactly moving the ball at will against Georgia. It just took some high variance, high change in momentum plays for Notre Dame to come out on top last week.
Yeah,
I like Penn State here. I think Penn State wins this game, and James Franklin finds himself kind of falling into a national championship appearance.
Wow. Okay. Connor?
I'm going to push back on that because I will give you this. The Notre Dame, what was it, 23-10 versus Georgia? The game was closer than double digits. It was. The game was closer than that. Like you said, those high variance plays, that does play into it. I think, for me, the key matchup here is the Notre Dame rush offense versus that Penn State front seven. And if you really get down to it, Notre Dame's first two games, they had almost 200 rush yards versus Indiana and 154 versus Georgia. They've been running the ball really efficiently. And you look at Penn State, they were good against Ashton Jeanty and Boise State, but Boise State's only offense is to force feed Ashton Jeanty. So how much stock can we really put into that? Or the SMU game, they allowed 50 rush yards, I think it was. And that game was out of hand in the first quarter. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So how much stock can we put into what Penn State's defense has done the first two playoff games? I kind of lean Notre Dame here. How has Penn State been against mobile quarterbacks? Who's the most mobile guy they've played? Kevin Jennings. That game was over in 10 minutes. Maybe week one, we talked about it, Karter. Garrett Green, West Virginia. Who's the other mobile quarterback Penn State's played? I think Riley Leonard's playing really well. I kind of lean Notre Dame in this spot. I think it'll be close, but mobile quarterback like that, he's been making plays lately. I like Notre Dame.
Dylan did not like that.
Do you have any worries about this is like Michigan of last year almost, where if Notre Dame goes down 14-0, 21-3, how are they going to come back?
So I think you can say that for both sides. If somebody goes down double digits, I feel like the game might be over. Drew Aller's thrown the ball more than 30 times only twice this season. Lost to Oregon in the Big Ten title game and the comeback against USC. He hasn't been asked to do that much for Penn State this year. He's been good, he's been efficient, but he hasn't been in a position where the run game's not going and he has to throw 50 times. That's rare.
I don't know if you could say you have Penn State the 74th percentile for offensive pass explosiveness. I mean, they're more explosive than Notre Dame is. Penn State is. They have more playmakers offensively.
Yeah, they do. Their backfield's better, but Penn State's passing game behind Tyler Warren, where's the depth?
I guess Warren's probably the only option there. I don't know. I think we've seen. I mean, we're not going to sit here and argue that Drew Aller is a better passer than Riley Leonard, right?
No, I won't argue that.
No.
I think that's kind of where this opens up. And I understand Notre Dame's pass defense is great, and even the rush defense is, I mean, that's the weakness probably of their defense, but it's still good. I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to see that Notre Dame beat Georgia by 2 possessions, and they're going to be like, oh, I need to get in on this. And I think it's going to be Penn State here. I was kind of shocked Penn State was an underdog, to be honest.
I think it's valid, though.
Notre Dame, 7th percentile in pass explosiveness. Like, I don't know.
Conversely, they've been averaging 6.5 yards a carry this year, and they're, 3rd nationally in rush EPA? Yeah, the schedule wasn't great this year, but they have found success running the ball, and even against Georgia.
But Penn State's rush defense, 6th in the nation, EPA per rush. A defensive success rate against the rush, 29th. Like, this is not... I think Penn State's defense is better than Georgia's. Like, the Georgia defense they just faced is not the Georgia defense of 21, 22.
I mean, it's not that, but...
I think it's pretty similar. I don't think you can definitively say Penn State's is better.
You want to go position groups?
No.
You don't?
Wait, for the Penn State Notre Dame game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Stop me if you have any concerns. Quarterback, Penn State.
I have a concern.
What's the concern?
I like Raleigh Leonard on the ground. That dual threat.
Oh, Drew Aller's fine on the ground.
Yeah, I'll still take Drew Aller. That's fair.
Running back, Notre Dame.
Yep.
I said wide receiver, Penn State, although both not great. That's the Notre Dame.
Yeah,
both,
I was about to say
not
they're
great.
both, quite not good. Tight end is does tight end fall into wide receivers? Because tight end, you'd give the huge edge to Penn State.
I did not include tight ends in wide receiver, but I also did not make a tight end section. So viewer discretion. You do what you please there, viewers. Offensive line, I said Penn State, close. Not really a huge advantage there. Defensive line, Penn State. Secondary, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's defensive line has been pretty good lately. I got crucified for saying that a few weeks ago, but they've been good.
I do remember you getting crucified for that take.
Yeah, for what? Yeah, and they've actually been pretty good. But Karter, I gave Dylan this stat last week. First team to have 3 sacks and 3 forced fumbles in a college football playoff game was Notre Dame, and they did it in the first half. They were getting pressure on Georgia's O-line, which I think Georgia's O-line's been okay this year. It might not be the 5 pros prospects we're used to from Kirby Smart, but that's a respectable O-line that Notre Dame was putting pressure on the whole time.
And I think Notre Dame's D-line's going to have success getting to Aller in this spot, too. I don't think Penn State's offensive line is the best in the country by any means. And no. I'm very curious to see how Drew Aller responds because he is going to get pressured in this game. I think Aller's going to get a lot done with his legs. I think another thing to point out in this one is, okay, when has Penn State played this level of defense this year? And you'd pinpoint to the Ohio State game because I would say
that's
Ohio State and Notre Dame's defense are on the same tier. And in that game, if you're telling me you were impressed with Penn State's offense in the slightest, you're out of your mind. Their leading rusher in that game was Tyler Warren with 47 yards. Drew Aller threw for 146 and an interception. They scored 0 offensive touchdowns in that game. Now, I'm not saying that Penn State can't have success and they're not going to score a touchdown in this game, but I am saying that is the last time they have played that level of defense, and it's easy to look at Penn State playing SMU and Boise State and say, oh, wow, they dominated. They had a lot of success on offense and whatnot in those games. But I feel like there are miles difference between Boise State and SMU's defense compared to Notre Dame's defense. And, Dylan, you mentioned it. You kind of nailed it. If Notre Dame goes down by 10-plus in this game, can they come back? I really don't think so.
I think that's a secret. Penn State has to get out quick and play clock management. And
is this game going to be decided in the first quarter? Because it feels like whoever gets out to that 14-point lead probably holds on to it. And I know you said okay, Drew Aller and Penn State, they came back against USC and Minnesota and whatnot in these other games, but this is a different level of defense.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to move the ball at will up and down the field against this defense. I agree.
I don't think it's at will, but I also don't think that you can say it's the same case for both teams where whoever gets out to a 10-point lead first, the other team has no chance of coming back. I would take Penn State's odds from coming back from a 10-point deficit over Notre Dame.
I'm more so saying that I feel like this game is decided in the first quarter.
If it's Notre Dame that gets out to that lead, I don't think that's the case. If Penn State gets out to a 10-0, 14-0, 17-3 lead, then I don't see how Notre Dame comes back. Unless it's a defensive score or a special team score, which I'm not going to rule that out by any means, but I think we're looking at this Georgia game where a lot of that happened. We're like, oh, Notre Dame. You can't rely on it, but I'm not saying it won't happen.
Which coach do you trust in this spot more? We alluded to it a little bit earlier, but which coach between Marcus Freeman and James Franklin do you trust more, Connor?
Can I be honest? I think it's Marcus Freeman. I really do. We've seen him thus far in the playoff, I think, manage the games pretty well. And then James Franklin, he hasn't really been put in that spot yet. Boise State and SMU, we haven't seen him have to make a tough decision yet in this playoff.
Well, I will answer this as well. I'll say Marcus Freeman, just because we're working with a smaller sample size, number one. And number two, I think we look at that Georgia game, and you could point at things in that Notre Dame Georgia game, be like, oh, that's Marcus Freeman. That was a good call. At the end of the game where they just completely subbed all 12 players, caught 100%. Georgia off guard, they jumped off sides. Like, that's coaching, right? And James Franklin has more of a track record of losing these important games. So I would say Marcus Freeman over James Franklin. But I don't think that's the differentiator here, and I do think Penn State wins this game.
I think no matter what, this game, it's almost like the Georgia-Notre Dame game. It's going to be a rock fight, and it's going to be decided by a red zone turnover, a red zone turnover, or a missed kick, or just one of these high-variance plays that could really make the difference. There might not even be 40 points in this game. I think both teams are going to try to establish the run early, and I don't know how much success either one of them is going to have, to be honest.
Now, humor me here. From how we're talking about this game, it sounds like we would all probably take the under if we were to take a total.
It's pretty low, isn't it? What is it, like 45?
46 and a half is what I saw this morning.
Man.
Yes.
But first half under would be my play.
You can't tell me there isn't a world where there are a combined 4 defensive and special teams touchdowns where teams are scoring within the matter of 4 seconds. Like, that's not crazy.
They just bomb one down the field in this pass interference.
That too.
The other scary part about taking the full game under is overtime. This game could
100%.
very well go to OT at 14-14, and all of a sudden you're like, it's 51. How did it hit 51? It was at 28 going into overtime. So that's kind of why I would want to stay away from that. I mean, we hit the Georgia Notre Dame under though, Dylan.
Yeah, we did. Fairly easy.
Yeah, it wasn't really
Texas, Arizona State. Dylan Hurst,
Texas kicker, dead to me.
Burt Auburn.
Just make one.
I think he's dead to a lot of people.
I think so too.
If you know how different this Texas season is, if they have a decent kicker, they're SEC champs.
Is that a good thing?
I think I feel the same about
question.
That might actually be a good thing. That
it might actually be a good thing that he's been messing up so much. I'm picking Notre Dame in this spot, but this is a Vegas special. Notre Dame wins by 1, 21-20.
Ooh.
Because people are going to take, Notre Dame minus 1.5. I'm not going to take the juice on the money line, and then people are going to be like, well, I'm not going to take Penn State plus 1.5. I'm just going to take the money line. Everybody loses. It's going to be a close rock fight type of game. I think Riley Leonard has a lot of success on the ground. I think Notre Dame gets out to an early lead, and give me Notre Dame 21-20 in this spot. Connor.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I like Notre Dame by 1 also. I'm going to go 24-23, right at that total of 46, 47, depends on what number you get. So many people get screwed. Yeah, I'm going to go 24-23. I'm with you on Riley Leonard. I think he's a gamer. He's been really good so far this year. I know he didn't throw the ball as much against Georgia. He didn't really have to, but on the ground, he got it done, had some gutsy runs, really put his body on the line, and I like the way he played in that game. I think he has success here. So we'll go Notre Dame 24-23, and Marcus Freeman advances to the national title game.
A couple of Vegas specials right there, Dylan.
I'm going Penn State 13-10. I think we see
that's a
James
Dylan special.